chemistry is the fundamental aspect so that you can relate to the person that you're working with, you can cooperate with them, you can guide them, you can lead them and generate something for businesses with their decisions, maybe through data, maybe through other mechanisms. If your problem is right, if you are generating it out of empathy to others, empathy is viral. People will start to be with you, people will start to build.
Pleasure to introduce my good friend Lakshit. I happen to get to know him for the last 1 year. You all know we hosted the G20, right? So G20 had many tracks. One of those tracks was Y20, Youth 20, to understand the aspirations of the youth in all these 20 top wealthy nations of the world and to bring it into policy. So within that Y20 track, there are different tracks and one of them was the health and well-being track. Okay, very important track because that is something we all ignore. And Lakshit was the head of that track chair as it's called. So he's been in a healthcare background for long. How many of you know about ZS Consulting, ZS Consulting? So it's a healthcare pharma consulting firm. He worked there. Then he went on to start his own startup. And for the techies here, how many of you have got a X-ray done in your life, Kabhi? How many of those were fractures? Okay. How many of the times you felt possibly the doctor made a mistake? Okay. How can machines help in detecting something which the human eye cannot see? Does it make sense? I give you an X-ray. There is possibly a hairline fracture there which the doctor is not able to see. Can the machines help in solving that? What way? What is it called? What is that implementation of ML on images called? It's called computer vision. Okay. It's a computer vision firm. He worked on basically radiological data. Okay. So they use that. They use different types of image input and they do this. They got acquired by a company called ProcDNA recently, and he's now a part of ProcDNA, but still leading this product, which works with doctors and hospitals using computer vision on radiological data. Okay, so very interesting work that he has been able to do. So he's working in the startup space. He's also working in the policy space. Very often, policymakers don't interface with industry as much. Okay, so policies are made without understanding people's and industry needs. So being at the interface of both of them, there's a lot of learnings that you have. Okay, because you can give inputs of industry to policymakers and how policy is being framed to the industry. For example, what could be the big issue of policy when you give radiological data to a machine? What do you think would be a public policy issue in that? Would you be comfortable? What if machine writes your diagnosis? You'll be okay? No? Yes? How many yes? No, none of you trust a machine, huh? All of you would be uncomfortable if a machine gives you a report. Huh? Only one is comfortable. Why? Because machines can be better than humans. Huh? Okay. That doctor can also do, na? We don't know. At least doctor you can hold accountable. You can take him to court. Machine ko court ka le jayega na. ठीक है. So, anyways, this is but it's an interesting domain, and Lakshit will be speaking about some of that and why he got into all this, his journey. So, an interesting problem statement. So, why I want you to all to listen to him very carefully is just merely being a techie is not enough. You need to understand the domains where you'll be applying this technology, na. If you don't have exposure to healthcare, you may be a great programmer or an AI programmer, but it doesn't make any sense because you don't know in what ways to apply this. Okay, so all of you will be missing the bus if you don't have this interdisciplinary learning. So very interesting that a techie is in the space of public policy and healthcare. So I invite Lakshit to come and share his thoughts with all of us. Please welcome in the round of applause. Yeah.
Anyone made to sit forcefully for attendance for any reasons? I hope not. And I can see Shobhiji smiling, so I hope not. But you know the topic of discussion that we have here, empathetic leadership. And empathy, if it going to talk about empathy, the first thing that I'm going to ask is if any one of you doesn't feel like sitting, there's no judgment, there's no attendance requirement. I'll talk to Shobhiji about it if required. But you can feel free to skip. But if you're here, I want you to be engaged. If you're here, I want you to see the discussion, follow the discussion, and maybe we'll all learn from each other and take some good things out of this discussion. So, empathetic leadership. But let me start with a slightly tangential point here. You see this equation on your screen. This equation does not fulfill the requirement of a maths equation, right? It says 1 plus 1 is nearly 2. And on the left, it says chemistry over maths. And the idea behind both of these things is that in real life, chemistry is the fundamental aspect to math, like for the topic of this, slide. And sometimes you can have 1 plus 1 less than 2, and sometimes you can have 1 plus 1 greater than 2. Can you think of an example where 1 plus 1 is less than 2 in real life? Anyone? Yes, please.
When two people are working together and they are not able to work together in proper way, then their output will not be equivalent to.
Mm-hmm. So when you start to negate each other, when you start to bring lesser in each other, okay? Good example. Anything else?
So when two people can't cooperate on a single thing,
Mm-hmm.
and in that condition, obviously there will be 1 plus 1 will be lower than 2.
Okay. So you were working together on something very similar to what he said. If you're working together on something, you're not collaborating, so you're giving your individual outputs. Okay. When can 1 plus 1 be greater than 2?
So biologically, 1 plus 1 will be greater than 2.
Right point. Absolutely. And in a relation, in any relation, that 1 plus 1 is lesser than 2, right? Like because you have to be in the shoes of the other and be with the other, right? What else? When can 1 plus 1 be greater than 2? Mm-hmm. I see. We have yeah, lot of young energy for sure. Okay, what else other than love? 1 plus 1 can be greater than 2. Anything related to the topic of discussion? So, when you're cooperating, so just opposed to the example that was given earlier, right? Sorry? Nuclear fission. Yeah. Okay. And we have energy, we have all these machines running from it, right? And when two people are cooperating, that is when you have 1 plus 1 greater than 2, isn't it? Because you are able to give the best out of yourself and the other. Leadership is essentially about generating the best from others. And in the process, exceeding yourself and also helping others exceed. So you have two people working on the best of their output, on the best of their potential, giving 1.5x of themselves and possibly generating 3x, 4x, 10x, 100x more, right? And that is the importance of empathetic leadership, so that you can relate to the person that you're working with, you can cooperate with them, you can guide them, you can lead them, and generate something that was maybe not possible when you were working as two different individuals. So that's the real life scenario that happens. Any questions, any thoughts so far? Okay. So let me now try to understand what this classroom is trying to lead, and what are you guys trying to do. I know you guys are from 4 different courses, I guess. Computers, design, entrepreneurship is what I learned. How many of you recognize yourself as entrepreneurs? No entrepreneurs in the room?
Upcoming.
Yeah, upcoming, of course, but you have to identify yourself in order to achieve it, right? Yeah. Okay, a good bunch. How many of you think yourself as entrepreneurs? Do you know what an entrepreneur is? Entrepreneur is someone who helps who doesn't necessarily start a company, but like within a company, you help a company grow. You help them succeed, and in the process, you succeed yourself. So you're an entrepreneur. You invent within the framework of an existing company. Right? So how many of you see yourself as entrepreneurs working with a large firm, a Google, a Microsoft, or something? Okay. How many of you see yourself leading your family business? No family business? Okay, 2 folks. 3. Okay, great. Okay, we have few more hands. Okay, great. Women power in the house. Okay. How many of you see yourself working with the government, or be in the impact sector, in the social sort of impact area? Few hands there as well. Okay, great, great. So these are few of the things that I have been able to do in my journey so far. I've had the fortune of working in these 3-4 areas, and these are the areas that we will be talking about. And I think the majorly the classroom, the audience also composes of this background. So I'll just briefly talk about who I am. I am born in a service class family in the tier 3 city of Bathinda in Punjab. Have you heard of Bathinda? How many of you have heard of Bathinda? How many of you have heard of Bathinda from Jab We Met? Okay, great. So I was born in Bathinda, stayed there till my 11th. Went to Kota for a year to study IIT JEE. Didn't really have much of a thought back then, except for doing engineering, which is something that this university at least is trying to change. But so went to PEC, Chandigarh. Have you heard of PEC, Punjab Engineering College, PEC? Yeah. So went to PEC, graduated in metallurgical engineering, did nothing ever of metallurgical engineering. Right. Again, had the fortune of getting a silver medal in the branch, but know nothing about metallurgy. So please, no questions on metallurgy. Then from after graduating from PEC, I entered consulting. I worked with a company. So Shobhiji was talking about ZS. So I worked with ZS. I worked with McKinsey. Have you heard of these two companies? So ZS, but have you heard of McKinsey? Great. And then I also worked with the government in Ayushman Bharat program. Have you heard of Ayushman Bharat? Raise of hands, please. Okay, good amount of you have heard. So we will just come to learn. And then after working across these areas, I thought, I should probably start up. I should create something 0 to 1, and started Vikal, which we will talk about just in a bit. And then also got acquired by ProcTNA, which is what I'm currently doing. Okay, so now we will talk about just few experiences from these organizations that I have learned. So most of you know about McKinsey, is what you said. And what do you know McKinsey for? What do you think does McKinsey do, or what do you associate McKinsey with? Consulting. Okay, that's the work they do. What do they do in consulting?
Basically, they analyze the data for a particular business and then make a decision, like informed decision for the business.
Okay, analyze data and make informed decisions for businesses. Okay, what else? Optimizing business decisions. So helping businesses with their decisions, maybe through data, maybe through other mechanisms, right? Okay. Do you know any particular example where McKinsey helped, where with the help of McKinsey, a business could improve themselves? Anyone? Okay, I hope not, because they're very confidential with the clients that they help with. So you all see that you know what kind of work McKinsey does, and you associate with the brand that McKinsey is. Definitely, it's a business success. McKinsey is a very large consulting firm, one of the top consulting firms. It has business success, but most of you know about it as a brand. What it does, what clients it has worked with, what transformation it has brought about is something that we are not really as aware of. But it is something, it's a company that we all have heard about. So that's where McKinsey has particularly exceeded its own competitors. That they have built a very unique brand, which we all know, although we have not worked with it, or we have not heard of their work. So one of the examples is that when I worked with McKinsey, how did they create that brand? That story became evident when I worked with McKinsey. I was working on a procurement project. So we were helping a client see where they can procure their inputs from. They were a metro manufacturer. We've all traveled in a metro? Yeah. So they were a metro manufacturer. They wanted to source their inputs, and this was back in 2015. There was higher globalization back then. Globalization was not that bad a word back then. So they wanted to see what countries can provide them with with their inputs, with their raw materials at the minimum cost possible, but with the quality, of course. So we did an exercise for them where we looked at more than 70 countries, saw what they need and what the price is and how much will it cost them to get those raw materials. We saw that they could save 30% by sourcing from a country, from a low income country. And then the second best was that they could save 24% by sourcing it from from another country, let's say country B. But country A, which would help them save 30%, was a politically unstable country. The client would not be very happy to associate with a company in country A, which is a politically unstable country. And because all the suppliers of that product in country A used to do business in a slightly dubious manner because of the situation in that country, right? Now, McKinsey could have just clearly said that, source from this country, these are the prospective suppliers, and then you save on 30% and move on, right? McKinsey is not accountable. We all know, we don't know McKinsey's client. So no one would really know that McKinsey recommended that you source from this country, and then, you can save 30%. So, and the client would be happy because they help them save 30%. But McKinsey recommended that you source from country B, which helps you save 24% rather than the 30% that you can possibly save from country A. So that was the level of understanding of client situation that McKinsey brought. Their client was a supply chain CXO, was a COO, I guess, but they knew that the CEO might still push for procuring from country A, but the CEO doesn't want that for the reputation of their client. So that is what they upfront brought to the consulting engagement, and that is what their recommendation was, that you get it from country B and save 24%. So that is what helps McKinsey drive a brand, because of the empathy, because of the understanding that they bring to the client's table. Any questions so far? Are you able to follow? Okay. Let's see what is next. So ZS. So ZS is something that I think that less people know in the room. So ZS is again a consulting firm, works primarily with life science pharmaceutical firms, and helps them. In drug launch, we all know consume drugs for when we are ill, sick, or something, and so it helps drugs. There are a lot of consulting that happens within pharma companies, such as you have sales rep, or we all have heard of sales reps, which sell drugs, which communicate about drugs to doctors. So how many sales reps should a company have? How many sales reps should a brand build? Should a drug have? How many people doctors should each sales rep reach? That is sort of a consulting assignment that ZS would do. So at ZS, while I was working, I had already about 1.5 to 2 years of work experience, work with McKinsey and ZS. So I started to feel that, this is good work that we're doing, but I am not close to my work. I'm just helping some other companies build their business, but I don't feel that I am creating impact in the area that I am in. So and this was back in 2016, Swachh Bharat Mission. Have you heard of Swachh Bharat Mission? So Swachh Bharat Mission was very much in the news, and I read about a firm called, an NGO called Sehgal Foundation, which was working with multiple companies drawing up CSR. Have you heard of CSR? Do you know what? Can anyone tell me what CSR is? Someone, just a second, we'll come to you. Someone from this side? What CSR is? Sorry?
I think it's related to research.
Slightly not.
Corporate social responsibility, that is the one amount of their revenue that they have to keep
Mm-hmm.
aside for some social work.
Yeah. So, right. So corporate social responsibility, that's CSR. Basically, companies have to keep a percentage of their profit and channel that money into something, into social responsibility that they claim as their social responsibility, and help the grassroots, the underprivileged people with some of their problems, right? So that's CSR. So I read about Sehgal Foundation, and I thought, like, if Sehgal Foundation is able to work with other companies to help the government in Swachh Bharat Mission build toilets, build public facilities, then why can't my own company ZS do this? So I talked to Sehgal Foundation, talked to ZS, and ZS under the laws was not required to do a CSR, because CSR has a basic minimum requirement of, like, this should be the revenue, this should be the profit, and then out of that profit, 1% or 2% is what you're supposed to channel into CSR. But so ZS was not really like legally mandated to have a CSR program. So, but I went to discuss with Sehgal Foundation, discuss with the leadership at ZS, and they were very keen to do a CSR program with Sehgal Foundation. So we built a partnership, and we ended up building about 1,500 toilets back then in the area around Gurgaon. Gurgaon is where this office was, so we built an area around Gurgaon, and we helped 1,500 toilets built in that part. And more than 50 people from ZS contributed, worked in that project, worked with Sehgal Foundation to be able to build this. And ZS channeled money, a good amount of money, into that program. So this is something that was not being done, right? So a single initiative, or the empathy that you have, that you want to create something around you, the understanding that it's a mission that is the government is taking, and it's a requirement that people have, that people need good facilities to be able to do their regular business, to be able to attend their natural calls, right? You need this. So empathy is vital. So people join in. You don't need to find people who are already working on something. You can work on it. If your problem is right, if you are generating it out of empathy to others, empathy is vital. People will start to be with you. People will start to build with you. Any thoughts here? Are you with me so far? Okay. Third is Ayushman Bharat. So if you've heard of Ayushman Bharat, for those who haven't heard about it, Ayushman Bharat is basically a government program where the government gives you health insurance for 5 lakh rupees to 50 crore plus people in the country. So it's one of the largest health insurance programs across the world. It covers more than the population of entire North America. So that's the scale of this program. So while I was at Ayushman Bharat, we had a problem, which was that the beneficiaries entitled under the program, they were not able to receive the advantage, or they were not able to get healthcare under the program, that the government was not able to pay for their healthcare costs. Any thoughts why this might have happened? So let's say government has entitled all of us. So government says that all of us can get health insurance up to 5 lakh rupees and get ourselves treated. What do you think can be the bottlenecks? What do you think can be the challenges in us taking healthcare using government's money? Yeah? Lack of awareness, okay. Anything else?
Red tapeism.
Red tapeism, can you elaborate?
Basically, there will be few officers who will be there will be a leakage in the cash flow system.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there will be people who will gradually suck some of the amounts from the money that have to be leveraged towards the insurance of those people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? So it was partially both. So what was happening was that the government said that we are eligible for a health insurance, and then and so government had pre-decided that these are the 50 crore people who are eligible for this insurance. People who were aware applied to get a beneficiary card. So you get a beneficiary card made under the program that you can show at hospitals and then avail treatment. So people would apply for these beneficiary cards, but what was happening was that someone, an officer, would be sitting at the state office and deciding if the person at the hospital is the same as the one who is eligible, right? So let's say government has said that Lakshit Mittal, based out of Gurgaon, is eligible, but there can be hundreds of Lakshit Mittals, right? So how does the government know that I am the one who's eligible and not the other person? Sorry?
ID card.
ID card, of course. Sorry? Health card. Health card is what exactly was being made. So in order to make that card, right, so we needed other documents to substantiate that this is the same person. So we would check for Lakshit Mittal, father of XYZ, and resident at this place, etc., etc. Right? So that was the approval process. So there was a beneficiary approval process in order to make those cards, and it was a manual process. So the program was launched in 2018. In the run-up to 2019 elections, government really focused on awareness, and people wanted to make their cards. So at one point, 2 crore people had submitted their documents to get the health card, but they were not getting their health benefits still, because the manual process to approve and get a card was so slow. There is only so many people that a government office can employ, right? So and it will take its own sweet time to approve 2 crore cards to be made. But this again could be challenged, could be solved through technology. So what happened was, when we saw that people are aware of the program but they're not able to get the benefit, we went to Gorakhpur in UP and interacted with some of the beneficiaries to ask them what was it that was preventing them from availing healthcare. And they said that हमने apply कर दिया था लेकिन कार्ड तो कभी बना ही नहीं. And that is when we found that the problem was with the manual process. So what could be the potential solution? We have computer science, we have good folks here. What could be the potential solution? And we slightly touched it before. Automation, of course. So automation, so you can automate the approval process. But the government, if you know the way governments work, governments are slightly afraid of automation, because something Shobhiji said, there's no accountability. The reason you guys don't trust a machine for your health reports is because there was no one to hold accountable for. You can't hold someone accountable and say that this ye report galat chhapi hai aapne, right? So that is the problem, and that is the problem which is attenuated in government frameworks. In government, everyone wants to work at the minimum risk. So no one would say that, okay, we can automate this process and remove the manual process from the picture. So that is where the leadership came in. So leadership said, this is an urgent requirement. People are not able to avail treatment, and we cannot risk people losing lives or being so, being so tired of not running to government offices. So let's automate that process. So we worked on automation, beneficiary approval automation, and we could, solve this problem. And 2 crore people got their health cards within a day. That was the power of automation that we could bring. And the reason we could implement is because there was empathy in the leadership. Because the leadership decided that we have to solve this problem for people, and we have to ensure that people avail their health benefits. Any thoughts so far? Okay. So now, what we're doing at Vikalp and Progden is that we're, Shobhiji also already talked about automating radiological scans, which is something we already do. This problem is what machines, I know you're not very prone, you're not very trustful of machines. The issue with machines is, but the benefit of machines is that it helps you identify 40 to 50% of more diseases at a very early age that a naked eye can't find. So imagine this small of a fracture in someone's brain when they met an accident. That would not be found through a naked eye. A doctor will not run CT scans, MRI scan reports for it. even we will question if, if there's no problem, if there is no neurological problem, we'll question the doctor, why do you want to do a CT scan or a brain scan, right? And if the eye can't locate it, they can't treat it. But that becomes a major problem a few years down the line. So we have the solution which helps you identify those very minute fractures which can be solved right now with a lot of ease, and save you a much give you a much better quality of life. But this solution is not practical, at least in India. Can you think of why we're not able to implement this solution in India? Any thoughts? Why would that be? Sorry? Costly? Okay. Anything else? So part of the reason is cost, and the cost gets increased because the government requires that your report be signed by a doctor. So if we implement this solution in India, and then pay a doctor to sign our reports, the cost eventually lands up greater than what just a doctor can generate the report for. So we're not able to implement this solution in India yet. We will find out some mechanism shortly, but we're not able to do that. But are we not empathetic to people in India, to people around? Do we not want our people to be detected of diseases early on? An example is, so let's say, has anyone seen a cancer patient? Yeah. What's the big ailment, or what's the big reason for why cancer patients have poor quality of life? Any thoughts? Sorry? Chemo, okay. What else? Do you see any problem with cancer diagnostic? Very late. Yeah, right. So cancer, the typical problem with cancer is that your body doesn't react as soon as cancer starts to develop in your body. And people get to know about cancer in a very late stage. So they get to know about cancer in stage 2, 3, 4, and by that time, the prognosis is not as promising. So if you can help people identify areas which will lead to cancer, or cancer at a very early stage, you can really improve their quality of life. We have medicines, we have solutions to treat people at early age and give them very good quality of life for a very long life. So that is the kind of solution that this is, but we're not able to do this in India. So with empathy, you also have to be realistic of what you can solve. In the US, we are able to do so because the healthcare costs are high, there is insurance, etc. So we are able to do this, but in India, we're yet finding a mechanism. So what the point that I'm trying to make is that empathy alone is not enough. You have to be realistic along with building solutions around empathy. Okay. Can you all see this picture? So now we're moving to like a section where how do you apply empathetic leadership? And so we've all seen like how it has helped in my life so far, but how do you apply it? So do you see this picture, and can you tell me like which startup this possibly is? There's good amount of evidence here. I've just removed the names, the direct name, but there's good evidence. Okay, somebody has it, but anyone else? Okay, so this is Instagram. So Instagram, what I want to focus is this part where they threw out everything and only left photos. Right. So they built a product which had a lot of things, photos and a lot of things. And to a product owner who has conceptualized a product, every bit gets attached. And when they understood their user, they saw that they cannot build everything within Instagram, so they just focused on photos. Because photos is what the user required. They were wanting an app for photos, but anything else, right? So that is the business success that Instagram could draw, and we all use Instagram, right? So we are all on Instagram. Yeah. So we all use Instagram, and that is the kind of value that Instagram could draw with just this user understanding. Do you remember the scene from Three Idiots? Yeah. So what does it tell you? What does this scene tell you? Sorry? Sorry? One person. You saying something? Yeah? Okay. And so this scene tells you that the teacher was not really willing to understand the student. The teacher was very forceful of their own ideas, right? But like we see, like with universities such as this one coming up and other universities, the way of education is changing. It's becoming two-way. People are learning from students, and students are learning from teachers. So that is how you can build good institutions using empathy. I'm running a little fast because we're short on time, but feel free to raise your hand if you need. Another area is within the government. You've heard of Smart Cities Mission? Yeah. So under smart cities, there is a good amount of focus to build infrastructure for disabled and the blind. So our city's infrastructure is not really conducive to people who are specially able. So there's a good amount of focus on just building these solutions. So now we have a government leadership which is thinking from the shoes of the citizens, from the shoes of specially able, and is able to build infrastructure and make it a policy priority for them. And just very quick lessons, like what we can do in life that will help us draw empathy is, there's something as preemptive and there's something as reactive empathy. So let's say your friend is failing an exam. When do you help them? Do you help them after they've failed, or can you recognize that they are going to fail and then help? Right. So that's reactive and preemptive empathy, that you understand the other person and the challenges that they possibly face, and if you can help them before they face the challenge. Be empathetic to yourself and others. So this is something that we are missing a lot on, that a lot of us start to build empathy for others but neglect ourselves in the process. And the base is to start with yourself, be empathetic to your own needs, to your own requirements, and then put yourself in the shoes of others and see. Then empathetic leadership is a buildable characteristic. This is what one of the messages that I want to draw. Like, no one inherently is an empathetic leader. It is very much buildable. If you see from what I'm trying to share in the last stories is that there was not really a characteristic that I had before I could do any of what I shared. It is all in the process, just the willingness to learn and just the willingness to do things. Have you all heard of this line, treat others the way you want to be treated? Yeah? What do you think about this in context of empathy? So let me say this. Which line do you think is more empathetic? Okay, so first one is more practical and the second one is more empathetic. Yeah? So maybe a mix of both is what works the best, right? So you put yourself in the shoes of others, and then you understand others from their own perspective. So mix of both is what kind of works the best. And then probably the last thing, I want you to take this one thing, that think of areas where you felt the most happy in your life. And seriously ask yourself if that happiness was because people around you, your family, your friends were happy, or really it was just you who was happy in the situation and then you felt the most happy. Generally, you would find that it is when people around you were happy with your actions that you were really happy. So empathy is something that you can draw as a general skill in your life and really be able to drive your own happiness and the happiness of others around you.